I wanted to kind of just get like your point of view of like the vibes this year because I remember commenting on Pistons Media Day. I was like, man, something feels different and I don't know what it is. I couldn't put my finger on it. But like from just your vantage point, like how are the vibes with this team getting to interviewing them and covering them?
Vibes are at an all-time high. Like, it hasn't been better. And I don't like I had said earlier, I don't remember a Pistons team in, gosh. I mean, I'll ask you this, like, when do you remember the vibes being high last for this organization? Like, what group?
I'll probably get laughed at for this, but when the Pistons waived Josh Smith and they just went on a heater, it was like Brandon Jennings, KCP. They signed Anthony Tolliver, who Lindy Waters actually like chose his jersey, and a lot of people on this is literally like, you better be shooting those threes, boy. Like you weren't 43, but probably that team because like they they weren't a bad basketball team as constructed, but like when they went on that little heater, they won 7 games in a row. They started getting confident. Like Brandon Jennings was probably playing the best ball of his career before he had that Achilles injury. But I mean, those are the probably like that's the last team I could think of my Pistons fandom, and probably before that, like the '02 year. I mean, I started watching Pistons basketball during the Grant Hill era, like in '97. So I mean, like those are probably the two teams that I think off the top of my head right away.
Okay. No, those are good answers. But it goes to show, like, it's still been a minute since then. I think, I mean, the reason the vibes are so high, there's a lot that's gone into it. I think just a new regime always is a fresh start for everyone. I think having a coach that has the ability to really create a relationship with all of his guys. Of course, we don't know what goes on behind closed doors, but I know he has had personal meetings with every guy. I know when he sat down with Cade Cunningham at the beginning of the year, he's like, I want to be coached hard and I want to be the best player I can be for you. And JB's like, okay, like, first of all, what better guy to come and say that than Cade,
Mm-hmm.
the superstar? And he's like, this is the kind of, I want all my guys to have that mentality. So that's what JB preaches each and every day. Like, it's the process. We're focused on that over results. Um, you know, and JB believes that every guy can be successful in their roles, whatever that means. And I think the guys believe in that now too. Not that they didn't in years past, but it's like, I mean, you look at last season, and I think confidence for every single person in that locker room was at an all-time low, and they felt like they couldn't reach the top. Like, there was just no getting out of it. So I think this year what's changed is leadership, coming in and just being encouraging and telling them, we're not even going to talk about last year. JB's told us that. Like, I don't let them talk about last season. Like, we'll acknowledge it if we're asked about it, but the focus is now. And then I think bringing in the veterans was huge. You needed a group that, one, could create spacing on the floor. That was a huge issue we could see last year. But number two, you needed guys that were able to not only show an example by their play on the floor, but I think vocally too.
Mm-hmm.
Like Malik Beasley, Tobias Harris, Tim Hardaway Jr., those are three guys that are all vocal leaders. And we hit on Bees already. Like, that guy
Yeah.
is just a walking soundbite. But the other guys, like, I overhear them in the locker room, like, encouraging the other people. Ron Holland told me just yesterday, like, this isn't referring to the veterans, but like a guy like Cade and a guy like JD, like, guys are speaking up before the game. They have pre-game locker room speeches like every game night. And Ron is telling me it usually rotates between Cade and JD. And they get the guys hype. And like, he wasn't telling me what they'd specifically say because maybe some of it's a little vulgar. I don't know. I can imagine to get them
Oh
fired.
yeah.
But it's like, I think those veterans have rubbed off on Cade and JD to like speak up and give those speeches. And like, and Ron was saying like how inspirational it is for us to like have all of us believe in each other like that. And just, yeah, Malik, Tobias, Tim, like, just specifically, I guess, going back to the vets, like, they've just made such a difference. And like, they all have playoff experience. They all know what it's like to be a part of winning cultures. Like, I think when you have guys with that experience, they're like teachers in a way to the young guys here. So I think all of that just encompassing is just why the vibes are high. Like they believe they can go in and beat any team every night. And they walked into LA last night, maybe feeling like, okay, this is going to be a little bit of a challenge. And they blow them out by 20. Like, and then Denver coming in tomorrow. Like, who knows what's going to happen? I'm not going to say anything. I'm not going to be at fault with the Pistons fans if I jinx this. But
no, don't blame it on me. Don't blame it on me.
Yeah, blame it on him. Blame it on Anthony, not me, not poor Nat. But still, it's like that's why I think vibes are high. You just have people in that locker room that are just positive all the time. It makes the biggest difference when you're in that environment. So it makes it fun for us. Like we go in there and guys are just willing to talk and say whatever, joke around. Like Malik and Ron last night were talking about their battles on Call of Duty. And I'm like, okay, who's better? And then they got into it. They both think each other is better. So there is no answer to that. But, you're able to just have fun. They all hang out outside of games, 24 anyway. But they have a friendship there. Like they're all besties. You can see it on the bench. So it's special.
Yeah, I think JB's a really big part of that. Like, I still remember the introductory press conference, him saying I want this to be fun for them, because if it's not fun, then they're not going to look forward to actually playing basketball and coming to work. And I think you see them having fun. Like you mentioned, Malik Beasley shimmies used to be a second, now they're 30 seconds. And even JB had a quote about it last night saying he's influencing next generation of basketball players to develop bad habits, and they don't want to get back on defense, my son included. And I was just like, oh man, even JB's son is shimmying. That's how you know it. So that's how you know it's funny.
Quote of the night. Seriously, we were all dying when he said that. And it's true. It's not only that one dance move is not only infectious with the other guys on the team, but you're bringing JB's son into it now. That just goes to show I don't know. You can't replace the fun stuff. That goes a long way. You can be a good basketball team, but you have to have the bond and the fun and live it up in it, and I think JB, like you said, encourages that, and the players are okay, we're doing that. We'll buy into that part of it as well. So the culture is being set and built the right way, and you can just see it. That is why it's turned around so quickly.
Yeah, and I feel like you guys get a post-game soundbite at least once a game.